We have liftoff. SpaceX managed to launch Starship Flight 8 in a spectacular way. But how did it do? The moon is being invaded, Gigabay is coming, and Starship may launch in Florida this year? Starship point-to-point travel is one step closer to reality. So many things going on, so here's our full analysis. My name is Felix, welcome to What About It, let's dive right in. Now that Firefly has successfully landed its blue ghost on the moon, it is time for its payload to perform its various tasks. Right after landing, NASA checked the experiments meticulously and prepared for them to get started. NASA has two separate goals. One is NASA's initiative to encourage private companies to enter the space economy and especially payload services to Earth's orbit and the moon. With Firefly's technology showing promise, it is no surprise that NASA opted to send its payload up with Blue Ghost. The second goal is the big one. NASA is still working on putting humans back on the moon. Today, the long-term goal is to establish a permanent human presence. But such a mission needs to be prepared carefully. The first step is to learn as much as possible about the conditions humans have to endure when being on our natural satellite for an extended time. 10 experiments were put on board Blue Ghost. They all have very valuable duties and will be critical for scientific research. Intuitive Machines' Athena lander has landed on the moon, making it the second successful American-made lander in the last few weeks. After launching on board a SpaceX Falcon 9 as part of the IM-2 rideshare mission, Athena successfully completed a 492-second-long lunar insertion orbit burn at 6:30 a.m. on March 3rd to set it up for the landing attempt. At 12:30 p.m. Central Time Thursday, Athena had a confirmed landing on the moon, making it the second craft to successfully land on the lunar surface over the last few weeks. The team was working on further confirmation as to how successful the landing was, but they were receiving data back. There was speculation that perhaps the lander had tipped over onto its side or had flipped completely upside down, but nothing was confirmed. The CEO of Intuitive Machines did tell his employees after the landing that the lander did not produce enough power. This might be due to it tipping over or it being in the shade, but it's unconfirmed. Let's shift over from the moon to a much warmer Florida. Space Coast 2.0 is coming. They've finally given us a confirmation of what we expected for some time now during the Flight 8 scrub stream. SpaceX is doing more than pushing the boundaries of Starship's flight capabilities. It is scaling up production and launch infrastructure dramatically. While the Starbase facility in Texas remains the heart of Starship development for now, Florida is set to become the next major hub, with large-scale manufacturing, integration, and launch facilities in the works. Yes! One of the most ambitious parts of this expansion is Gigabay, a massive new integration facility near Hangar X at NASA's Kennedy Space Center. Giga fits it well. This expansion is key to increasing Starship's flight cadence and pushing us closer to meeting that long-term goal of extending humanity's presence in space. Officially standing 115 meters tall, it will house 1.3 million cubic meters of workspace, far exceeding the capabilities of SpaceX's existing megabase at Starbase. With cranes capable of lifting up to 400 tons, this Gigabay will be built to handle Starship and super heavy vehicles up to 81 meters tall, allowing for faster refurbishment and reusability. While this won't be tall enough to integrate full stacks in the Gigabay itself, its volume will be more than 10 times as large as the current megabase. SpaceX made all the speculation official on Monday before Flight 8's first launch attempt, which ultimately scrubbed. Construction at Kennedy Space Center has already begun, with the Gigabay targeted for completion by the end of 2026. But SpaceX isn't just building one for the Cape. They are building a Gigabay at Starbase as well. Next to the Star Factory, it will replace the currently standing High Bay. When both become operational, the company will be able to rapidly produce and integrate Starships from both major launch sites. You know the feeling when you think your partner's been hiding some secret? That is exactly what happened to me. The other night, my wife brought this incredible meal into bed. Perfectly cooked hanger steak, cheesy macaroni, roasted squash. And I'm thinking, when did she cook this? She just laughed and said it's from CookUnity. CookUnity is a total game changer. It's a chef-to-table platform that brings restaurant-quality meals right to your door. They're crafted by top chefs from around the country using fresh, responsibly sourced ingredients. Like my wife's balsamic glazed hanger steak by Chef Ruben Garcia. Or this Dijon braised pork shoulder from Chef Andres Mendez, ready in minutes. Its convenience saves time and the variety is unbeatable. With hundreds of meals to choose from, there is something for everyone. Go to the link in the description now to get 50% off your first order of chef-made meals delivered fresh to your door. Use my code WhatAboutIt50 and bring gourmet dining home today. Thanks to CookUnity, dinner's never been this easy or this delicious. Trust me, once you try it, you'll never go back to cooking the old way again. Beyond production, SpaceX is also moving forward with Starship launch operations in Florida. The first step is the completion of a launch and catch site at Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy Space Center. The launch tower for this pad was stacked in 2022 and work is now progressing on installing a deflector system similar to the one at Starbase. That's one unhappy tower. It's been on hold for 3 years while Starbase had all the fun. As crazy as it all sounds, if all goes as planned, the first Starship flight from Florida could happen in late 2025. Finally, some Starships in my neighborhood. But that is not all. SpaceX also considers Slick 37 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station as a future Starship launch site. Originally built for Apollo-era rockets and later used for Delta IV launches, Slick 37 is now being evaluated through an environmental impact study. If approved, this site could further increase Starship's flight rate, supporting cargo and crew missions as well as the onboard refueling operations needed for deep space travel. That's a massive info dump. With production and launch operations spanning both Texas and Florida, SpaceX will be positioned to rapidly increase Starship's flight rate, pushing toward full reusability and testing and iterating even faster. With landers swarming the moon and everything else happening in spaceflight, it's the perfect time to join the Y community. If you appreciate the content, become a Y supporter for extra content. Secure your access to up to 7 picture galleries per week, satellite, aerial and ground photos, and 3D animations. Chat with us and gain more insights on the topics you love. Stokespace recently fired up the engines on their Andromeda stage and used a camera that they now lovingly call the Crispy Cam for obvious reasons. Their engine is notably very different from anything that anyone else is working on right now. It's a design that completely stands apart from the rest of the competition. The recent hot-fire test demonstrated the engine's enhanced design, integrating 24 larger thrusters arranged around a regeneratively cooled metal heat shield, all while using 2 turbopumps to operate them. This configuration improves performance and simplifies the engine's architecture, reducing weight and increasing efficiency. By actively cooling the heat shield with liquid hydrogen, Andromeda is engineered to withstand the extreme conditions of orbital re-entry and be ready for immediate reuse without the need for inspection or refurbishment. Are you noticing what I am? Private space is no longer just about getting off the ground. We're now seeing real missions prove themselves in action. Companies like Stokespace, Intuitive Machines and Firefly aren't just developing ambitious technology and rovers, they are actually delivering results and reaching end goals. Meanwhile, more familiar and bigger names like Rocket Lab have been scaling up its Electron launch cadence while preparing for the first flight of Neutron, its much larger reusable rocket. Blue Origin has resumed New Shepard crewed flights, keeping suborbital space tourism alive while also developing New Glenn, their answer to Falcon Heavy. This shift is huge. For years, private spaceflight was dominated by a handful of major players, but now new entrants are carving out their own niche. Next up is another mind-boggling reveal: sci-fi dropships might not be sci-fi for much longer. Take a look at this. The US Air Force is proceeding with its Rocket Cargo Vanguard program, which assesses the feasibility of using large commercial rockets for rapid global cargo delivery. Wait, what?
This is awesome, but it's crazy, right? This is never going to actually happen.
Oh no, it's definitely going to happen.
Is this the beginning of SpaceX's vision from years back? Is she not crazy after all? To support this, the military is preparing an environmental assessment to construct 2 landing pads on the Johnston Atoll, a remote US territory in the Pacific. The plan calls for up to 10 rocket landings per year over 4 years to test the viability of delivering military material anywhere on Earth within hours. That's 40 launches. The Johnston Atoll has a long history of military use. Nuclear tests and even bioweapons were tested here. It's not as pretty as you might think when hearing the word atoll. If approved, this could be a major step toward integrating space-based logistics into military operations. Point-to-point rocket travel could drastically redefine global transportation, turning long-haul flights into near-instantaneous short hops across the planet. SpaceX's Starship is a contender for this vision, aiming to transport passengers and cargo at hypersonic speeds through suborbital space. Imagine that instead of spending 15 hours on a commercial flight from New York to Tokyo, Starship could cover the 6,700-mile journey in just 60 minutes. The technology, however, comes with major hurdles: regulatory approval, safety infrastructure, and costs. Commercial supersonic flight already had this problem before SpaceX came along. But if SpaceX can solve these challenges, point-to-point rocketry could be as disruptive to air travel as the jet engine once was. After Monday's scrub, it was unclear what the possible cause of it might have been. We hoped that it would not be a big thing. SpaceX had opted not to do a wet dress rehearsal for Flight 8, but this test would have likely caused any minor problems. Now it looks like that was exactly what triggered the halt and ultimately the scrub: minor problems. Sometimes watching rocket launches feels a bit like Groundhog Day. But that is all part of the game. So as the sun rose above Boca Chica Beach to mark the beginning of another beautiful day at Starbase, we knew what was to come. A fully stacked Starship looked ready as ever, but we were all still some hours away from visible activity. The first thing to notice on a launch day is always the familiar white vapors that are a telltale sign of the tank farm slowly coming to life. Starting from the tanks and then coming ever closer to the OLM and tower, propellant lines are slowly pre-chilled in preparation for millions of pounds of supercooled gases to make their way to the vehicle's tanks. As the plumes of white vapor came closer and we finally saw valves on the OLM and Mechazilla joining in, it was clear that SpaceX was still committed to this launch. The next sign was the customary X-post, sharing with the world that the tanking procedure was about to start. When the post was out and a second one informed us that tanking had indeed started, it was time to watch for those first faint frost lines to form on the shiny steel skin of both Ship 34 and Booster 15. And surely they did. Millions of pounds of propellant streamed into the tanks under incredible pressure. Now we were less than 45 minutes away from launch time. Meanwhile, SpaceX treated us to some more incredible videos of the previous flights as their live stream coverage joined into the build-up of excitement before this much anticipated launch. And this time the preparation was not interrupted by callouts of problems. With just 3 minutes left on the countdown, propellant load was completed. These last minutes are always a nail-biter, but as we knew, the 40-second mark is what you need to watch out for. This is the point at which it's possible to halt the countdown for a few minutes. Not longer than that though. And then the countdown ticked down, coming ever closer to that anticipated moment. The spectacle we had been waiting for. When we saw the countdown clock move on to 39, we knew there was no turning back now. Water came gushing out of the deluge system below the OLM to meet the inevitable. 3, 2, 1, ignition. There is nothing like the roar of 33 Raptor engines belching out hot gases to unleash their full fury. It's simply beyond belief, and it never gets old. Rising from the OLM, around 11 million pounds of steel, fuel, and 4 dummy satellites elegantly made their way up toward the sky. As a fun fact, a super heavy booster consumes around 20 tons of propellant per second during this phase. As in the previous launches, the Starship did its signature drift away from the OLM as it cleared the launch site. We watched in awe as the behemoth's vehicle accelerated into the clear Texan evening. After just 1 minute into the flight, the first major milestone was reached. The moment of highest dynamic pressure the rocket experiences during the flight, max Q. So far, Starship performed flawlessly. Another minute and a half later, it was time for stage separation. With the booster's main task almost down, the outer 30 engines cut off, leaving only the gimbaling center 3 Raptors running. We held our breath as 7 seconds later Ship 34's engines came to life for the first time after that insane 57-second static fire in February. The ship pushed itself off the top of the booster in what can only be called a spectacular hot staging procedure. This amazing feat of technological prowess makes use of both the gimbaling 3 Center Raptor engines as well as the booster's hot gas reaction control thrusters. They work in unison as they flip the mighty booster around. Then it is showtime again as the boost back burn begins. Meanwhile, Ship 34 had passed the point at which its predecessor had met its demise. All Raptors performed to specs and it was ready for its big moments later in the flight. But first, it would be Booster 15's time to perform its party trick. While the ship was busy with its ascent and the booster was on the way back home, SpaceX was checking all the preconditions for a booster catch attempt. Yes, we are still looking at an attempt here. The fact that it worked twice does not mean we can take a catch for granted just yet. Remember Booster 13? It had to do a water landing because the communication with the launch tower could not be established successfully. But soon we heard the confirmation. Both Mechazilla and Booster 15 were go for the catch attempt. As the mighty booster fell toward the Gulf at breakneck speed, the next sweaty palm moment of the day had come. The 13 Raptor engines of the center and the first ring started up for the final time and decelerated the booster rapidly. The booster is just a kilometer away from the ocean at this point. Your mind does not want to wrap around the possibility that this giant would be able to stop in time to avoid a disaster. But sure enough, it did. Soon all but the 3 gimbaling Raptors shut down. They had performed their task. The last 3 engines guided the booster into Mechazilla's waiting arms. Seconds later, the miraculous maneuver was over. B-15 was calmly swaying on its catch pins. SpaceX again made it look incredibly easy. I can't wait to see the ship being caught by Mechazilla. That will simply be unbelievable. This is where it went south. At about the T-8 minutes mark, Ship 34 appeared to lose functionality of an RVAC engine along with attitude control. The ship began to spin and various signals and data streams began to break up. The telemetry went haywire. Unfortunately, for the second test flight in a row, a Block 2 variant of Starship ended its campaign earlier than we hoped for and instead provided yet another spectacular light show for people in parts of Florida and the Caribbean. Our very own John Winkopp managed to capture the explosion in a spectacular way as well. Taking a look at the footage again, you can see that there is venting or even combustion in the engine bay even before the engines shut off and sent the Starship into a tumble. This could be related to SpaceX's problem during Flight 7, where oscillating vibrations caused fuel lines to leak and fill the attic between the engines and the aft dome of the main tanks with combustible gases. We have no official word yet, and we'll do another analysis on Tuesday as more information comes in, so stay tuned for that. There's footage being released already by people who filmed the breakup from the ground. This looks to be an FTS detonation again. Same as on Flight 7. This is standard on a rocket launch after communication is lost. The onboard computers decided to end the flight after attitude control couldn't be regained and communications to ground stations and Starlink were lost. So far, SpaceX has yet to see a Block 2 variant of Starship make a water landing in the Indian Ocean. It looks like there might be a deeper design problem here and the team has significant work to do to fix it. Here's hoping that even despite the disappointing ending, SpaceX will gather valuable flight data from the mission to inform Flight 9's test attempt whenever that may be. The Starship program is highly visible and SpaceX is doing iterative testing very much in the public eye, so criticism of rapid unscheduled disassemblies can be heavy. However, in the bigger picture, these very failures are where engineers obtain data to improve the ship and its capabilities. It wasn't too long that SpaceX had to go through 20 consecutive Falcon 9 landing attempts before successfully landing a first stage back on one of their drone ships. We'll see what they come up with to fix this before Flight 9. One thing is for sure, an investigation and excitement are guaranteed. A ship catch stays a future goal for now and Starbase has all hands on deck once more. What a day! We are now even more hyped for Flight 9. What will SpaceX do next and when? Are we going to see the first ship catch attempt very soon? Let me know what you think and leave me a comment. I am looking forward to reading your thoughts. This, by the way, is a Starship model from Anjuang from morethan3d.com for everybody who's interested in all the models in the background. That's it for today. Remember to smash the like button, subscribe for more. This is what fuels the algorithm, and this is how you can help us for free. Check out our epic shirts in your favorite Space Nerd store. A new Raptor design and our brand new Starship Block 2 design are both up. Link is in the description and in the card you should see now. Also, check out our print store at shop.whataboutit.space to buy a picture for your favorite wall. And if you want to learn more about the fascinating story of SpaceX's Raptor 3 engine, watch this video next to continue your journey. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next episode. For future simplify. This capable tea. Let me do that again. I'm sorry. I'm trying.